I made pouty man face.
What's going on, guys? We have a bonus AMA for you this weekend, which is kind of cool. Had a little bit of time. April and I are doing a little bit of traveling, and brought the cats and dog with us. As you can see, Milo conked out in the background here. Um, but I wanted to, normally when I start an AMA on the weekends or going into the weekend, I have a topic, and so what I wanted to do is just say congratulations to quite a few of you. I've been getting emails and messages, subscribers popping up in AMAs like this, telling me about how they got their first roles. It's been quite frequently lately. I would say probably every single AMA I do, and then we have the ones outside of it. And I just want to say congratulations, because not only has it taken a lot of hard work, this is something only you can accomplish. That's what's sort of crazy. The hardest thing about software engineering isn't really software engineering, it's getting your first software engineering job. And that takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of dedication. Those two things. And with that, you can go and get a role, and you have to be smart on how to use that hard work and dedication. But I am proud to know that for the subscribers who go and follow some of the advice that I give and other individuals, that if you go and utilize it, you can be successful. So it gives me a level of pride to know that I'm able to help people out there, because I didn't have that really, and it's motivating to think about how you're actually going out there and helping people, put themselves into a better position in life financially and just in general. So, how's it going, Jesse? But yeah, life is good though. So I'm waiting for my smoothie to defrost. So I got a smoothie, and it's frozen because I put it in the freezer. But almost unfrozen. But yeah, no complaints here. I just been sort of relaxing, taking care of things. I've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and we'll probably talk about that in a future video. You've learned a lot from me, Jesse. Jesse, why are you lying right now, man? For those of you who don't know, Jesse and I are old coworkers. We worked together for about 4 or 5 months before Jesse went on to greener pastures. Um, it was always fun working with Jesse, although challenging at the same time. So Jesse's a very high level individual. I am not, for one. Uh, Another thing is that um, Jesse is in the let's just hack it out and get it done. And although I have my moments like that, you have to weigh the pros and cons of every situation. Um, so, Jesse and I always had fun. Um, yeah. But yeah, so it's been really great to see that people are being successful, and I think so. It's kind of funny. So I think it's all sort of coming together, because I'm coming on about 3 years of full-time salary dev experience, about 5 years industry experience, and so what you're seeing is and I've had a YouTube channel a little less than 4 years. So for about the last 3 years, I've been writing software professionally. I've been getting better and talking about it and going over it, and what's it like, how to do this better. And the people who have been following sort of long term, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, in reality, you should be at a similar skill level to myself. Maybe not exactly because you're not working full time and doing all this full time, putting the other stuff, but at least you should be introduced to a whole bunch of stuff. So, which is just as important. And so it's great to see that some of that stuff's finally bearing fruit for a lot of people because it's hard, man. Yeah, that first job is hard. Going and getting that first giant pay raise is hard. After that, it gets easy. But yeah, man, it's a journey, and that first role is always so important and vital. And oftentimes, it's not only like because it paid off and you put all this time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears, and you finally got there, but you're also getting to a better financial situation for a lot of people, which is life changing. Do I know? Who did you ask if I know? Teasel Will Twist. No. So, Julie J says, background in advertising and publishing. There's a time for conceptualizing and perfecting the presentation. There's a time for just crunching out and meeting that deadline. Some of those statements are generally true. Where a lot of companies suffer is they just want to crunch it out because they want to get as much done. So you have to kind of press against that a lot of times. Let's see. When you got your first dev job, did you have extreme anxiety going to work for the first few months? I got my first dev job 2 weeks ago. I'm super nervous and scared I will mess something up. Well, that's a fair statement, and I wouldn't say I had extreme anxiety. It was such a crazy time when I came across the country. So, just to paint the picture a little bit, I moved about 3,000 miles away. Don't know anybody. I'm staying in an Airbnb. I'm renting, eventually renting a room from a bunch of college students, and I know there's no going back, and so I'm going home and studying every day and making sure I'm proficient. And so, did I have anxiety? Absolutely, because I just made a huge sort of leap, and I needed to make sure that I was successful in it. So, I wouldn't say don't worry. It's okay to worry that you're going to mess something up, but don't lose any sleep over it. Just get good and be proficient in the environment that you're at, which is, I understand, easier said than done, but something to think about. Nice cat, yeah, he's a good boy. Any tips on choosing a good Airbnb? Yes. Understand what it is that you need and versus what it is you want, all right? So we're in an Airbnb right now. We rent the entire house. In this case, where you're doing a lot of driving and we just wanted to have access to a laundry machine, we wanted to have access to a backyard for the dog, and it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath place, about 1,300 square feet, much more space than we need. But we wanted to, while we're here, and we're sort of jumping around a little bit, we're only here for 2 days before we go elsewhere. We wanted to just have something that's easy, we can walk right into, we can relax. We weren't planning on going out too much, and so this place was had high reviews. So I treat Airbnb like I treat Amazon, where if you don't have like 4 stars or above, I don't even deal with you. I'm not going to deal with a bad situation. I just want to deal with good things, and then by then I start whittling it down, making sure they have the things I need. What I need? Well, I need Wi-Fi. I need this and that, and then I have a list of wants. But usually the wants just go out the window, and I just start looking at prices and availability. But just understand the difference between what you want and what you need. In my case, with the animals, it made sense, and it's oftentimes cheaper than actually going to a hotel or a motel, and it's so much more comfortable. Like, I was out there earlier talking to the guy's neighbor who takes care of the place, because he's like an engineer in Seattle or something, and just shooting the shit. April and I had tea in the backyard, just sitting down, relaxing. So just find a place that's going to work for you, and be willing to cut the check for it, I guess. You've been out of the web dev game for a while. What do you think is the best way for you to get back into it? So, first off, I would try and understand why you've been out of the web dev game, as you put it, which is a fantastic way of putting it. So I tried to find out, like, just make sure you really understand what made you stop. Did you stop because you just don't enjoy it? If you don't enjoy it, fine, that's okay. Maybe move on to something else. Did you stop because of life pressures? If you did, how are you going to make sure those aren't creeping up on you, and how are you going to protect yourself against that? The reason I say that is because at the end of the day, you might be putting yourself into a situation where the same thing's going to happen, and you're going to be asking a year from now. So try and solve that issue first. Now, once you have, or you're saying there's no issue, I just, I had a baby, whatever. Then try and get started where you left off. But before you do that, go and do some basic tutorials. So you're like, look, I don't really remember HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Great, go do a bunch of YouTube videos. Then go build some projects. Then go do some algorithms. So just start doing everything you can. But really, if you want to do it, same advice I gave regardless of everyone's situation. 2 to 4 hours a day, or 3 to 4 hours a day weekdays, 8 hours at weekends until you get a job. That's sort of my go-to. Andre says, I've been watching you for 2 years, just got my web dev job. I started 2 days ago, packed up my car, moved from Kentucky to DC. Thanks for always keeping me motivated. Good for you, man. As I've said many times, I've moved across country, and you gotta chase your dream wherever it is sometimes. And sometimes you can bring some family with you. You used to be able to solve mid-level algorithms? Oh, that's pretty good then. So just start building some projects and then jump back into those algorithm problems. Whatever your favorite site was, maybe jump there or try a new one and play around. I started doing, I had a lot of fun doing, I got a little bored because I had some downtime last week, and I started doing the MySQL queries on CodeSignal. So a lot of people who are doing like database jobs or they don't really have luxury to like algorithms like we do always, and so they have a database part that's in MySQL on CodeSignal, formerly CodeFights, where you can write queries to return the table that you're looking for. And so I really enjoyed that. Although I don't have any MySQL at my workplace, and probably won't be working on it anytime soon, the general principles of querying databases and dealing with databases are the same amongst pretty much any language. Get the data, display the data in the same fashion. Pull the data from the table, pull the data from a document, grab these fields of the document, do a bunch of complicated stuff to get that data. That's sort of the general gist of it, which will make you a better developer, right? So like one thing I've always said is great specialist is a good generalist. And so even like in my case, I'm a front-end engineer, and I stay a decent front-end engineer because I am learning other things outside of it. Anyhow, hey, buddy. Yeah. You guys hear him purring? Yeah, so Milo, we've had Milo for over 10 years now. He sleeps with us every night. He doesn't mind getting kicked in the head either, so we accidentally kick him in the head all the time. Because he sleeps by our feet, he sleeps to the side, just really wherever he wants. But let's say I need to get a job in 2 months as an entry-level developer. What do you think I should focus on and learn? First off, I think you're setting yourself up for unless you already know what to learn, which with a comment like that you don't, you're not going to be able to get a job in 2 months. So it's not really a possible situation. How do you deal with security from a web dev perspective? I'm not sure what you mean by date. Dylan, I'm a good developer, but can't get a job because I'm Latino, so I should look funny. What should I do? Go and become a great developer and stop making excuses. People are going to hire you if you're Latino, and if you look funny. You just need to go get better. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. It's sort of a strange statement because you're somewhat honest with yourself. It's hard to say that you look funny or something like that, right? But at least you're honest with yourself if that's the case. And then in the same statement, you are being dishonest saying you're a good developer. Because if you were, you'd get a job regardless. I don't know. I solved that heat map in D3. I was struggling with now moving on to the choreograph. Dude, I hated D3. I absolutely hated it. Where to get started for an absolute novice? In web dev, HTML and CSS would be a great place. Do some YouTube tutorials. Do some Codecademy, free code camp. Just start diving into those free resources. And when you feel like you're ready to move on to something more complicated, ask again. He's a little snorter too when he's congested. So I don't know if you guys can hear him snorting over here. Yeah, I don't know. I never really liked D3, but here's my thing with D3 is it's sort of an over convoluted mess. Although it is very powerful, it also is overly complicated in the sense that there's a lot of other charting libraries. That's all D3 is. It's a JavaScript charting library where they have things that come predefined, like charts. They have bar charts and pie charts and whatever other charts. So I would rather use those. Now, if I need to do something extremely custom, maybe that won't work. But 99% of the time, you're not doing something extremely custom. They all do the same thing. Kevin says, honestly, I feel like a lot of people just get lucky with dev jobs, especially in my area. This goes back to not worrying about other people and just worrying about yourself, right? How would you even know that? Are you talking to other people? I doubt it. I heard this guy got hired down the street. Got lucky. No, work on your personal skills, work on your actual technical skills, and just get better and continue and learn about. Maybe it's your resume. Maybe your resume is jacked. Maybe it's your LinkedIn. That's jacked. Your GitHub, your personal portfolio. These are things that I talk with people when I do my mentoring, where I'm gonna sit down with you for an hour, and we're gonna go over these things to help you design a better resume so that you get noticed and so that you are able to do what you need to do, because not getting noticed, you could be the best developer in the world, but if you're unable to get through that HR firewall, you're gonna have an issue, which is what I first go to when I talk with candidates. How can I put my projects into my portfolio to apply for a junior developer job? You can just have a portfolio page. Do I use my terminal to push right to GitHub? Yes. Um, Maybe you want to switch over to the laundry?
Don't tell me what to do. I know. I will. I just haven't. Whoa, hi there. No one wants to see you doing that.
No, it's one of those like food channels.
It's not a mukbang.
It's a mukbang, baby.
No.
There's now a mukbang, American style, with a 44-ounce smoothie and a cat in the background. All right. It's okay, buddy. Yo, I stopped coding for a while because I loved my current job, but now I'm ready to make some of that paper. What should I be studying that I've missed out on the last 6 months, 4 to 6 months? I would highly recommend TypeScript. A more general thing, I would recommend you get comfortable with the REST principles, the solid principles, also progressive web apps. What do you recommend if you don't want to push in GitHub because the code is public? Microsoft made it so that GitHub has free private repos, so you can do that on GitHub, so you don't have to worry about that. How far did I get in my CS degree before trying self-taught? Pretty far. I was about a quarter off from going into my senior year. I've heard people say that it's harder to get a junior web dev job because it's more saturated these days. What do you think? I think the same thing, but for different reasons. People think it's because there's more people. Wrong. It's because there's tons of bad dev. Tons of bad devs. If you go and become a good dev, you will have no problem getting a job. You have a lot of people who see a cheap meal ticket and jump into it without wanting to put the time, effort, or energy into actually getting good. How is the investment property going? So we did a home inspection, and then they said, all right, these are the items, and pretty rough. But our offer was, we gave them their asking price minus closing costs, dependent upon an inspection. So the inspection came back, and then it recommended that we get the roofing inspected, and it needs a new roof. So among that and a couple other major repairs, we're going to ask them to repair it. I don't think they're going to do it, so I think we're going to be back on the hunt and continue on from there. But we'll see. You never know. What do I do to memorize things? I just practice. Building things and struggling through it is probably the best way. Is knowing HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React enough to start applying? Yes. But you should continue to get better and keep building things. I would go and I'd add Git to that. I'd add TypeScript to that. I would add some testing. That would be sort of where I would want a baseline junior dev to be comfortable with. Do you think the bar is low for junior devs? It depends on the organization, right? There are definitely some organizations that are going to pay you low bar pay, right? There's plenty of devs that are making below market value, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you're there for the experience at the end of the day. Now, there are other devs that are doing very well for themselves. There are devs that are making above market value. And it's like, what is that? And the thing is that your pay is going to be commensurate somewhat of your skill most times. It's not a direct correlation, but it is something to consider. So do I think the bar is low for junior devs? I don't know that the bar is low. I think junior devs historically have not risen to the occasion that they need to, because it's such a broad term. The term itself denotes that you're trying to be a worse developer. So, a lot of times organizations don't even have junior dev roles. They have dev and senior dev. I think part of that is a lot of junior devs think that there's going to be organizations that are going to pull them in and groom them. That's just not the case by a lot of company standards. I've worked at companies that have done $1 billion in sales. They don't groom anybody. They don't have time for that. We're paying you, let's say, junior dev salary $60K. That's more than we pay everyone in marketing. That's more than we pay HR, whatever it is. And you want us to go and take this guy who cost us $120 and help you do your job? No, we're good on that. And so a lot of companies think like that. Do I think the bar is low? I don't know that the bar is low. I think it's lower. I think it's a company by company basis. I think a lot of junior devs set themselves up for failure because they see things like learn to code on Treehouse in 30 days. Bruh. Like, it's like, we all know you're trying to get that affiliate money, but come on, man, you're gonna be ruining these people's lives. Can you learn to code? Can you really learn? Can you really learn well with code alongs like 30 days of JS30? I don't know what JS30 is. I think it's that 30-day JavaScript thing. I mean, you can always get better. Yeah. What resource do you recommend in order to learn testing and web dev? So, I have a, if you're looking for front-end testing, like unit testing, I did a thing on Jasmine. Although I haven't done an actual, like, testing, like, just a general blank, this is how to write a good test tutorial. It's on my to-do list. It's going to go into my Code Like a Pro series. So I'm going to add some stuff onto that, because I think that's important. And I haven't quite got around to it yet. I've been a little busy. But I guess the answer is I don't have a good answer. What about in regards to skill are the new devs you see come in ill-equipped for the work? So I would interview people, and by new devs, I'm saying devs who have more experience than me a lot of times. So we'll say 5 years and under, is you would have them come in. And the guy, I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget the interview where the guy told me he doesn't do for loops. Never. Stunned. Absolutely stunned beyond belief. So, that, you have people who come in who say they write code, they don't write code. I don't know what they do. I imagine they just use plugins for everything. They've never written a line themselves and had to build anything themselves. Or they've just, were a contractor and wrote one line of code a week. But knowing basic fundamentals, knowing your programming language of choice, knowing how to program, like these are things that are not that big. But people don't have basic programming knowledge that you should have from a 1 to 2 hour tutorial video. Do you think junior devs need to know data structures and algorithms? It depends on what role you're trying to apply to. If you're going for a data science role, if you're going for like a back-end role, that's going to be more important. When you say data structures and algorithms in front-end, I mean, you obviously need no data structure. You have to be comfortable with arrays and objects without a doubt, but there's not really any algorithms that are too important. Will it make your code more proficient in some cases? Yeah. Not always something that you need to worry about. Should I date women who code? My mentor said that's not a good idea. I don't see any issue with it. what is the ideal junior candidate? Same thing I tell people when I mentor them is how you're going to sell yourself, and what the reality needs to be is that you are not a junior dev. You are a developer who just hasn't got any resume experience. There's a crucial difference. You can be a developer who hasn't got hired yet because you've done a ton of side projects. You've worked on some maybe school projects. You have a portfolio. You're active in the community, various ways. That's the ideal junior dev. What's up, man? How many hours a week are you hustling now? Not enough, man. I'm over here in, I can't say, but not Florida right now. I'll shoot you an email a little bit later, Eric. We can talk. You got an interview on the 15th? Good for you, John. The gator over there. Cute little puppy. What are you doing, buddy? Gator, come here. What are you doing? No? Come here. Come here, buddy. Oh, you good boy. You know he weighs almost 50 pounds? This dog, he's about 6 months. This dog I got at a month and a half and was 15. Well, he's almost 60 now. What would you say to junior devs that build spas via vanilla JavaScript? If you are building a single page application, meaning there's routing, template binding, and it's complex, and vanilla JavaScript, good for you. But I don't believe you, for one, and two, your time would probably be better spent picking up a framework, because no workplace is going to have you do that. Should you code your own portfolio site? I think that's a great project just to get people going. Yeah. Have I used anything like Redux or MobX at your jobs? Not those specific technologies, but I mean, what you're talking about is state management frameworks. The most recent one that I've used is Vuex. So I wrote a pretty cool thing for Vuex to store state, so Vuex is Vue's sort of state management library, and it works similar to Redux, where there's a central store. You have getters, you have modifiers, you have accessors, and there's one more that I'm forgetting right now. And what I did was pretty cool. Was on the Vue app, I subscribed to the state change. So in Vuex you have the main state object where you store it. I subscribed to that. I then listened for when that changed. When that changed, I would go to local storage, and I would set a local storage value, which has to be a string, to state, and then I would stringify the state, and then I would update the state if it was there and whatnot. And so what this gave us was we used the Vuex state management that would dynamically update state in local storage, and so we could persist the state between sessions relatively easily, which is something I thought was pretty cool. And with the way that it's set up, it'd be relatively easy to have certain keywords not do this if you didn't want that state to persist. But that was the last time I did something I thought was pretty cool. Do you think employers are flexible with a starting date? I meant to start applying next month, but I want a July start date. If you got hired towards the end of April, that'd be May, June, July. It's 3 months. They don't think you're going to show up, I don't think. But I would start applying now and then bring it up. Employers are generally pretty flexible with getting, new high quality candidates. But 3 months is a lot to ask. That's like, hey, can I start in a month? Yeah. A month to maybe 6 weeks at most. But 3 months, it's not impossible. Yeah, and friendly engineer, if you're having issues with motivation and staying focused, get rid of the things that take away your focus. Get rid of your PC, your games on your PC, whatever it is. Is the job market super oversaturated? No. What NPM package do you use for Node.js download and upload? You can just go to the Node documentation page and get the download there. It's an executable, so you have to have Node to use NPM. So you can't use NPM to install Node. You can use NPM to update NPM. NPM package to handle file uploads, file downloads. I don't use any. I just do it myself. It's a strange thing, sort of being in a different state. I grew up in Los Angeles and Southern California, and you don't have small fences like this where you actually get to see your neighbors. It's just not something that happens. It's so strange to me. What state is this? I'm in Missouri right now. Yeah. Here, buddy. Oh, you're a good boy. Ooh. Why Missouri? It's complicated. We'll talk about it later. Should you read books like Clean Code, or is that overkill since I don't have a job yet? I think Clean Code's an excellent book for you to read. I recommend Clean Code I recommend 2 books regardless of where you're at in your career. Oops. I recommend Gator, inside. Hey, no digging. Inside. I recommend that people read Clean Code and The Clean Coder. I think those are the best books that you can read. One's going to teach you how to write professional level code, and one's going to teach you how to actually be a professional. Algorithm 2 course. It's so funny that you asked that. Someone that might have been doing algorithms again for fun said, hey, you know what's better than the 100 algorithm challenge? The 150 algorithm challenge. We'll see though. Now that I've done one algorithm course, people have been giving me a lot of shit. Some people wanted a more technical course where I want to go over things like big O notation, certain specific algorithms, binary search, different types of data structures. So we'll see. It's something on the radar though. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I think John Sonmez's book is great as well. If you're interested in any of those books, there is links in the description below that you can help me out. I recommend all the books on there. I've read all of them. I think they're a good fit, and obviously my courses as well. Does dev just tend to fall off for certain times of the year? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you elaborate a little bit? Honest question, what are the benefits of taking your algorithms course compared to practicing on other websites? So one benefit is you get to see different solutions. So my course is structured in such a way that there's a video going over the question, what it is, what the problem is, and at that point you're supposed to go and try and solve it on your own. Now, once you've done that, you can go watch the second video, which will be my solution, where I talk about how I broke it down, what it was that I was trying to do, and how I got to my answer. And that way you get to see multiple solutions to get to understand one programmer's brain to another. Are you using Vue more now? My role at Symphonic, yes, I use Vue professionally, that's what I should say. I would recommend reading Clean Code, then the Clean Coder. You could read the before that I'd read John Sonmetz's book if you really just want a brief introduction to everything. Hiring does so around like the new year. Hiring picks up because everyone's got budgets, and around quarters as well. I can make a full stack CRUD application with authentication. I'm ready for a job. Yes. How much time did I spend doing algorithms before I felt ready for a job? Ready for an interview is different. So I didn't really, I probably spent 200 hours building the 100 algorithm challenge, and part of the reason I did that was to go get a higher paying job and then go and get better at software engineering. So I did like two things and then make my course based off that. So about 200 to 300 hours if I count the time of the course. Yeah, you should always apply. Companies are always hiring. It's just there are going to be more high seasons and low seasons. By the way, guys, if I could get you to like the video, that'd be appreciated. We got 9 likes and 44 people in here. Someone didn't like the video, at least one of you. I appreciate that. Thanks, guys. I honestly don't even know if it does anything. Do I prefer Vue over Angular? I did it one time. But I think I like Angular better. Do you have any experience with Scrum and Kanban? A little bit of both. I should say a lot of bit of both. More Scrum than Kanban. Um, so, I happen to personally like Kanban better, but I think a lot of, because I think it's more natural for how you're like, if you were to say the natural way a developer would work is, you just work on whatever's the top priority and knock it out and then work on the next one. Um, there's not really deadlines and things like that in Kanban. Um, but Scrum is a much more orderly and fashioned way where you have 2 week estimates and priorities and things like that. And um, it's it's I'm not a big fan of saying I'm going to commit to this and not commit to that, and it forces developers into what I think is an unfortunate paradigm where you're making commitments to things, and even if those tasks change, hey Tito, oftentimes you're still held to those commitments. But I am a fan of a lot of the ceremonies that are part of Agile in general, and of Scrum, such as like I think stand up is great. I think the product backlog or grooming, depending on what you call it. I think Tito's over here trying to get in on the action. I think retros, and I like the ceremonies of Scrum and Kanban, but hey buddy, you coming over? Okay, come on, Tito. Hey buddy. Oh. Oh. Can someone ban this guy quoting the Bible? Not that I have anything against the Bible, but I just don't like people to come and spam in people's chats. But yes, I would recommend You Don't Know JS. I think it's great. You can get it for free. Can you pair program with Dolan? Dolan doesn't even do single program. So. Can I enlighten you on how a designer hands off a design to a front-end developer? So it sort of depends, and it depends on your process. So some designers are very hands-on with the front-end dev. Some aren't. Typically, they will maybe start in Photoshop or Sketch. Sometimes there'll be prototypes once you've got to that stage. It really depends. Sometimes they'll just be low-resolution mock-ups. But if they're using InVision, you'll have things like colors and fonts and all that sort of stuff, so you know exactly what it is that you're going to get. So it depends. There's a tool that helps designers. What projects did you create when you got your first job? I did like 8 of the free code camp projects, and my YouTube one was the most successful one. Have I heard of Lambda School? I have, yeah. It's a boot camp where they'll let you go for free. It's hard to get into from what I hear, as it should be, right? Because they're only looking for people who have a good background or going to be successful. So. Not yet, Waldo Mac. So here's my thing is I don't think you're going to be as motivated going if you get a free ride. and it's not free. A lot of times they take, I forget what it is. I think it's like 18% of your first salary for 2 years. So if you get $100,000 salary or $150,000 salary, you'll pay them like 35,000. I think it caps out at like 35K. So I don't know. Yeah, maxing out 30K. There you go. 17% for 2 years, maxing out 30K. That's pretty easy to do. Not impossible, especially because a lot of those jobs, like a lot of these boot camps, they're pushing you to New York and they're pushing you to SF where you're gonna get those fat checks. Um, do you think plug post comment command? I don't know what plug post command equals. I don't know what that is. Yeah, so the most important thing in your learning is having access to good resources, and there's tons of free resources out there, and it's just putting the effort and energy in. And if you happen to have access to a mentor, if you actually have access to somebody in your life that can help you, there's zero to little no reason, in my opinion, to go to a boot camp if you have access to somebody. Now, a lot of people don't, so. I think it's great to volunteer to teach code. I sign up through code.org. Last time I did it, although I'm still signed up, they just don't ever call me, is I went and talked to a bunch of elementary students about code, get them interested in STEM. Say hi, Tito. No programmers on the island? One programmer per island? What I meant to say, do you think blog posts command points for employers? Yes, they definitely do. Yeah, consistency and just dedication is the general thing with any success. Is everyone thinks that the subscriber earlier is like everyone's getting lucky around there. Probably these overnight successes or what you're viewing as, they've been working at it for years or an extended period of time, and then they finally, everything finally went well. Like look at my situation, right? I'm doing good, right? I'll, I'm looking at buying a second house. Um, we can go on trips when we want to. We eat well. We're happy. We got money in the bank. Some people are like, "Yeah, man, that guy got lucky. This and that." And some people have that mentality where they don't realize that this, quote unquote, buying second house, life going good, overnight sort of thing. It's really like a 5-6 year thing in the process, and we're getting payoff in the last year or so. So, if you have that consistent hard work, this is where you can get to. And this is like what I told April 5 years ago or 4 years ago. I said, I'm going to work every day, every single day. And I was able to do it for about 4 years, and which was about 3 months ago, and I sort of got tuckered out at 4 years. So I went 4 years, and became pretty happy with what my results are. So you can work every day for 4 years too, is what I'm trying to say, and enjoy that. Do I invest with compound interest in mind? Not really. Right now, I'm trying to keep my investments into real estate. So, Tito, come on, buddy. So that makes it a little harder. A lot of my money is a little bit tied up right now on various things. So, is compound interest the thing that you want to invest? Of course it is. One of the great ways of getting rich over time. But I haven't really, I haven't dedicated the time I need to into stocks quite yet, because I'm doing it in real estate. So we'll get there though. All right, guys. We've been going for a little bit. I guess I'll answer this last question. If you make enough money from real estate, will you quit coding? No. I enjoy it too much. What I'd probably do is quit working for somebody else and just code on my own stuff full time, right? So, part of the reason, this is my shortcoming as a man, as a developer. Part of the reason I haven't launched my own big app is I consider YouTube quote unquote my big app, right? That's my main side project, my main squeeze, as the kids say. If I had 40, probably closer to 50 if you count driving and a little bit of OT you put in from time to time, 50 hours a week, and just the mental energy to go and say, look, I got 50 hours a week to work on a project of my own. Whew. Y'all can suck it. Your boy is out. I make enough money. I can do my 50 hours a week on my own project. That's what I would do. So will I ever stop coding? I don't imagine so. But I would stop working for other people. That's where you get the biggest payoff. People say, what's the best way you can invest your time and money in, people's stock market, housing? Wrong. The best thing you can do is start a business. Now, it could be a failure and that wouldn't turn out very well, but if it's successful, it's one of the very few things in the world that's a legitimate way of thousand-folding your money. Those things can happen. So, you taking your time and energy to go and invest it into a business, yeah, you might lose out on 150 grand a year up front, and if you can get by, great. But your business, your application, whatever it is, could easily make that up if it's successful. So there's a gamble and a risk factor associated with it, which is why I'm not doing it now. But I will always be working in some aspect of software until I find my next great love, which I don't know what that is yet. Finance might be it. I'm very interested in finance, but I haven't dove deep enough to understand investments inside and out to see if that's what I'm going to be doing in the next stage of my career. But anyhow, guys, that's it. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.